There are four basic categories to be concerned about when we talk about cyber attacks. One is the electrical grid, concerns about supply chains, gas, and electricity. Another concern is our banking system and financial markets. The owner says there were 21 people living in the 7-unit apartment building behind me that you can see is now a total loss. He says, sadly, some of them are even living in their cars or staying with friends. Family says they realized there probably weren't that many people here off Sturrow Drive around 1 a.m. Saturday off the off-ramp of 93 North and Tobin Bridge. So they said they would love to meet this witness just so they can say thank you. His name is John Love. Good name, right? He's a pastor in Maryland. His daughter lives here on Nantucket. We spoke to both of them today, just hours after his plane landed back in the States after a week in Poland that he never expected. All is quiet right now, but those traffic headaches will begin very soon. You can see behind me there is the government center garage. Crews will resume demolition here for the first time since a worker was killed. They don't think it's a good idea for kids under 13 to be on Instagram. Why? Well, they say it could cause more harm than good.
Right now, you are looking at me on Instagram. You have to be at least 13 years old to use this site.
Mark, starting May 7th, if I'm on this side of the border and I'm outdoors and I'm at least 3 feet away from you, I can take off my mask. That's according to Governor McKee. But if I'm on this side of the border, well, in Massachusetts, the mask mandate continues. The police are still very early in their investigation. As you can see, they've kind of held us back here with this police tape. They've surrounded this entire block here on Senator Bowling Circle with police tape. And you can see some detectives and some officers about 100 yards or so behind me. They've been going through the crime scene, talking to witnesses. We know the alleged shooter posted 3 times on Facebook about the attack new tonight. Chilling text messages from the suspect to a woman in Germany. And we warn you, they are disturbing. I spent hours combing through the Department of Education's data. Despite the pandemic, the state and many school districts reported some of the best numbers they've ever had in some metrics. But the one statistic impossible to measure: how engaged are those students with their classes?
I'm very surprised. How does that come to be?
Parents we spoke to pleasantly surprised by some of the record-breaking school stats reported during the challenges of the pandemic. 89.8% graduation rates, 1.5% dropout rates, 0.7% of students disciplined. The number striking in the state's 2 largest districts, Boston and Worcester, where high graduation and low dropout rates during the pandemic far exceeded previous records. Do any of these numbers surprise you over the last 2 years?
I don't find them surprising, particularly because there was such a concerted effort to make sure that all of the support and resources that students would have when they were attending school in person were in place throughout remote learning.
Attendance did have an obvious drop in statewide numbers, with many students quarantining, but we found many districts were still able to keep their numbers relatively stable. In Worcester, for example, the attendance even went up in the 2021 school year.
Students who were sick, whether they were just positive, whether they were quarantine exposed or actually ill, could still participate in school. They could attend remotely.
But students and parents we spoke to say attendance doesn't always mean engagement.
It's so much easier to just click you on your phone and be like, oh, I just went to school on my phone, but I'm still driving around and hanging out with my friends. You could just turn your camera off and stuff and just sleep through even if you were there.
Kids got away with murder. Kids loved it. They loved it. Particularly with the parents having to go to school. I'm trusting you, Johnny, that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah, Mom, really, come on.
While engagement is hard to measure, school administrators tell us the efforts made to meet their needs are not.
As a district, we've done a lot of work on the need to build relationships, understanding that relationships lead to engagement, which leads to academic success.
As for the teachers' take on the stats, the Boston Teachers Union president applauds the numbers, but tells me they fear residual impacts.
Even pre-pandemic, I think we are always working on increasing attendance and graduation rates, and the pandemic has certainly made it more difficult, but educators have continued to rise to the occasion, but certainly the cost is that they're burning both ends of the candle.
So the numbers, you look good, but you're saying that it's coming at a cost.
So I think morale is certainly low.
Another engagement measure that's also lower, MCAS scores. The results are not available yet for the test they just took, but the ones from last year showed a decline in almost every grade level. A rep from DESE tells me as things get back to normal, they hope testing and attendance will climb, just as graduation rates have. For Boston 25 News, I'm Wale Aliyu. A moment of gratitude.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you as well.
I'm so sorry for your loss, guys.
This is the first time the family of Brandon Jennings got to meet the Good Samaritan who helped catch the suspect police say hit and killed their son, nephew, cousin, and boyfriend.
This is so
Surreal.
Yeah.
I know. I am too.
I'm about to get teary-eyed, oh my goodness.
The 22-year-old was walking on Sturrow Drive by himself exactly 2 weeks ago when police say an intoxicated 36-year-old Miguel Rodriguez hit and killed Jennings and took off.
Literally, I just keep saying I'm so grateful that you were there.
That's where this Good Samaritan who wants to remain anonymous entered the picture.
Usually when you see something like that happen, you're kind of in a state of shock and you're like, oh my gosh, it's you reacted very fast.
I didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
I just know that there was other car that was stopped and that car that just kept going, and I didn't stop either. I just felt like it was right to keep going.
After witnessing the crash, he followed the car from Sturrow Drive to Rodriguez's home in Lynn and told police who were able to come and make the arrest.
Yeah, I didn't know how long I was going to be traveling for, but I had state police on the line the whole time, so I was hoping that, if I couldn't catch up to him, that somebody would.
And I asked police flat out if this Good Samaritan did the right thing. They said absolutely. In fact, in a statement, they told us if a witness can safely maintain visual contact of a suspect from a distance while not violating any laws or putting themselves or any other member of the public in jeopardy, and provide updates of the suspect's location, such information can be invaluable to police. A ride on the waters of the Cape Cod Bay would normally be a safe haven for Paul Quintal.
Just angry.
But he fears these waters won't be safe for long.
Is Duxbury, where they have a tremendous amount of oysters. We have mussels growing just on the tip of Plymouth Beach. And here is the plant. Impression of the public would be that there's no way we're going to buy contaminated food. I wouldn't serve it to my family.
The decommissioned Pilgrim Nuclear Power Plant in Plymouth is trying to dispose of more than 1 million gallons of radioactive wastewater. The company responsible, Holtec, originally argued that the levels in the wastewater are low enough that they would be, quote, innocuous to marine life. But the town has been fighting back, and finally, some progress. Holtec sent Senator Markey a letter and shared it with us, saying in part, we assure you that any intermittent discharge will always be well below the Nuclear Regulatory Commission limits, which we have invariably met in the past. That said, we will voluntarily refrain from releasing processed water to the bay.
We're not going to just take their word for it. We didn't sign up to be a nuclear waste dump. When we signed up for a nuclear power plant, the waste was supposed to be trucked out.
The fear is that this wouldn't just impact swimming and food, but also tourism.
There's lots of beaches in Massachusetts. And if Plymouth is contaminated, where are you going to go?
And we reached out to Senator Markey for comment. He told us the people have spoken, and Holtec International has finally listened. We are not going to let companies destroy our ecosystems or our economies for their own profit. But we will welcome good faith partnership with business leaders. For now, that's the very latest live in Plymouth tonight. Wale Aliyu, Boston 25 Tonight.